Riding Side Saddle. It's Tammy.
And it's Lisa.
And we're back with a guest, a repeat guest.
You know this guest. She's been here recently.
Yeah.
It's Jessica.
Hello.
With Always Forward Nutrition.
Yeah.
Yes,
Right?
well, I'm back.
Yeah.
We did not get enough time
We
last
didn't.
time around to
No.
really talk about all the super important things.
For sure.
And I'm sure we won't have enough time even this time, but just some of the fundamentals, right? We wanted to bring you back in
Right.
and have an additional conversation to scratch the surface, really, even about what you do and
We talked about why you do it.
Sure.
But I don't think we really talked about what your program is.
The how,
yes.
Yes.
what.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
the
Yes.
why was there, but now we need the how and the what.
Yes. I'm just going to have to say it. This rain, I am really sorry. I know you can hear it on this recording and it's driving me crazy, but this is where we are today. So sorry. I just had to say it.
It's okay.
Sometimes you just gotta say it.
Yep.
Here we are.
Yes.
It's what happens when we're in, the remote location
I
for
know,
recording.
Right?
Yes.
The AKA in the parking
car.
lot in the car.
Yeah, I know. And it's rainy today. I didn't even think about it until we were ready to record. And I'm like, oh no, it's noisy.
Yeah.
I didn't think it was even supposed to rain today.
Oh.
So
Yeah.
Well, here we are. So
Here we are.
Sorry about the background noise, but we've got really good stuff to talk about.
yes, we do.
Yeah.
We absolutely do. So just a really quick recap.
Yeah.
So both Tammy and I are members or clients to Jessica. And we were introduced to Jessica through a mutual friend.
Speaking
Tammy
of,
is
I have
actually
my check.
paying you right now.
My check for my next session starts in next week. So yeah.
Is that really why I was here?
No,
I mean,
gonna
I'll
mail
take it.
I was
know.
going to mail it, and then you reminded me that we're
totally
going to see
forgot.
each other.
That's so funny.
Good thing I reminded you then, because I just completely forgot. Thank you.
So funny.
No, thank you. Do a little transaction
Save
while
a
we're
stamp?
Here we
Yes,
are.
yes, exactly.
Well, how much are stamps these days?
I have no idea.
Me either. Scott gets stamps. I don't worry
Like
about it.
70 cents or something?
I have
just
no
sneak
idea.
into his office and take them when I need to.
Yeah, I feel like you have that right.
I do. I do. I left him with 0 stamps when I mailed my payment
Oh,
to him,
okay.
actually. I'm like, oh, well,
He'll get
guess
more.
he has to go to the post office. I'll let him know. Anyway, a mutual friend of Tammy and mine told us about Jessica.
Hi, Lori.
Yeah, because Lori had been a part of the program, Always Forward, and
Yes,
very
she has.
quickly we were like, girl, you look fantastic. Like, we had complained about all of the things. We're all in the same age group, frustrated about our weight and hormones and all of that stuff. So when she was feeling really good and doing really good on the program, we're like, that's it.
I want what you're having.
That's what we're doing.
Yes,
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
long
Yeah.
story short, here we are.
Right.
We're doing it.
Yep. We
Oh,
are.
I think you both had some fantastic weeks this week.
I don't feel like I did.
I think you were down.
So this is where Jessica comes in, and I was going to email this to you, and I thought, no, I want to say it.
Okay.
Oh, all right. Here
Good
I'm gonna
boy.
cry.
I know.
Here we
I know.
go.
I probably am too. I can feel it bubbling. If I were doing this myself, I would have quit a long time ago because I don't read the numbers the same way you do.
Absolutely.
So the scale goes down and it goes up, 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 down, up, down, down, up, down, 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 up. And so it never feels to me like I'm making progress. It's not like 1 step forward, 2 steps back. It feels to me like 1 step forward, 5 steps back. And to get to that first step forward is like, it feels like it doesn't happen.
Sure.
And I can go back and look
At the mountain range.
at
Yep.
that, but I also, so the way I do it, I keep track of my everyday in my notes in my phone.
Yeah.
So I can go back and see it very easily. I can see that there's a steady decline, but
Yep.
it's very slow.
Yes.
It is.
And because it's very slow, I would have given up. Like, this just isn't working.
Yep.
If it weren't for you being a really great coach and cheerleader, I would have given up. Absolutely, I would have.
And I think that's the biggest part of doing this thing with a coach. Coaches are different than friends. Coaches are different. And now we can be friends, right? Obviously, that is a different relationship that you nurture. But the hats need to switch,
Yep.
Yeah.
and they need to switch for a reason, because and even in the very beginning of this, I read numbers differently today than I did 3 years ago, right? 3 years ago, if you talk to some of the clients who I started with in the very beginning, they would tell you, man, she was like really hard on us. And it was really rigid, right? Everything was rigid. Everything was, you have to do it this way, because I knew that that's what worked.
Right.
There was going to be no ifs, ands, or buts about progress if you were following it pretty much to a T. Now, there were some days where it was like, all right, it's your birthday, it's Christmas, it's whatever.
Yeah.
That was always something that I was very much, we have to make this sustainable.
Right.
But understanding that everybody, then when I was with different clients of different age and sexes and seasons of their life, you have to pivot. And the accountability and experience is what allows me to switch those hats from client to client. So instead of just going from, Tammy, I'm now coach instead of friend or whatever that is, I now can go, I know you as a client, and that hat is very easy for me to switch. So then I look at data, right? Data is important, but it's very hard for you guys to see it because you don't know what you're looking for.
Right. That.
You know, you're looking at, okay, I entered in my macros, I entered in my sleep, I entered in all of the things that the spreadsheet asks you for, but you're not looking necessarily at the trends.
Right.
And
Yeah.
even when I do mention, hey, let me take a screenshot, I think we've done this a couple of times.
Yeah.
Let me take a screenshot of last week and the week before versus this week, and then you can see, oh, 2 pounds.
You kind of lose sight of that.
You do.
Yeah.
And you look at the day to day, right? Every day we look at Monday versus Tuesday, Tuesday versus Wednesday. But we don't look at last Monday versus this next Friday. We don't look at that. Fluctuation in weight is so common. I mean,
Right.
it's not common. That's not the word I'm looking for. It is.
It's normal.
It's normal.
Right.
You're not going to
Your
get away
body
from
is
that.
supposed
It's
to
so
fluctuate.
dependent
Right.
on
Everything.
Everything.
Right.
How much salt you ate the day before,
Yep.
how much sleep you got, how much stress you're under, how much activity you had,
Yep.
how much you had to
Hormones.
eat.
Right.
Are you on,
hormones are
on
in
your menstrual cycle for
Right.
women, right?
Right.
And it's
Yes.
huge to understand that even in maintenance, so when we get there, we did a maintenance cycle.
We did. We forced
between.
a maintenance cycle because I was the surgery and all of
Yes.
that jazz.
But
Which
do you
was
re-
interesting. Yeah.
Do you remember what the healthy range for fluctuation is?
I think it's like 3, isn't it?
3 up or 3 down,
Yeah.
so 6 total.
Yeah.
So let's say your goal weight is 150. So your maintenance numbers would be set at the goal weight, but a healthy fluctuation is 147 to 153. And a lot of people go, oh my gosh, like if I'm 148 and I jump up to 152, like that's a problem. No, it's not. Right? So fluctuation, you can gain 3-4 pounds in a weekend if you go out for 2 days in a row, or you not even drink alcohol, but maybe you drink a soda when you're not used to drinking a soda. And that's the
Or
beautiful
you even
thing.
eat something that's really salty.
Yes.
You know?
Yep.
Yeah.
Or you
Right.
got 3 hours of sleep because you stayed up with a friend until 2 a.m. and guy had to get up at 6 for
Right.
for whatever.
Right.
There's a lot of
That's
variance.
exactly what happened last weekend. I'm like, I didn't even do anything fun. Like, this wasn't even like, woo, I'm going to pay for this.
Yep.
Like,
Yep.
I ate a couple of tortilla chips
Yep.
and the stupid sodium.
Yep.
That.
And that's
me
the
so mad.
frustrating part. And that's where you
Yep.
and other clients see day to day.
Mm-hmm.
Because then you start going, those stupid tortilla chips.
Yeah.
Okay, yes. Okay, that could be the culprit. But that doesn't mean we can never have them again, right? So, but here's where that all or nothing comes
Feels
in,
like it.
right?
This is making a grumpy face.
Yes. Feels like it. Feels like it.
Especially when Scott's done with this.
Oh,
and he
yeah.
fucking mouths tortilla chips.
Everything.
Yeah.
I'm like, nope, it's fine.
I can't have 2, but
Enjoy.
eat half the bag.
And you
Please,
won't
help
see
yourself.
a difference, right? That's what makes it frustrating.
Yep. Yep.
That's what makes the accountability and the coaching so important.
Oh my gosh, does it ever?
And accountability, truthfully, I believe, is what makes most people successful on this thing.
Yeah.
Most people know after the first 6 to 8 weeks, you know how to count your macros.
You do.
You know what a carb is. You know those things.
And it's accountability to yourself.
It
Like,
is.
at first, it's maybe to you. Like, I'll
I don't
say
want
that.
Jessica to yell at me, so I better not.
Yes.
something that will put me
Right.
over my numbers.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
But now it's more like, do you really want to do that? Like, I know you
Right.
want to, but do you really want to?
Right.
Wants and needs are very
Yeah.
different in this program.
Yes.
And defining what is it that you want. Right?
Yes.
So you had this goal. Isn't that what you want? I know that this ice cream or chips or whatever,
Nutty
like
bar.
that looks really great right now.
I had a nutty bar today.
Did?
I
Oh my
did.
gosh.
And you know what? It did nothing for me.
Oh, I was going to say, did it taste like heaven?
I legitimately was like, huh, the film that
Oh,
creates,
yeah, there
and
is
I
a
was like,
film in there.
I didn't even eat the other half.
Yep.
Wow.
And it was fine, right?
Did you bring it?
In fact, no, I didn't. We could have split one in half. Here you go. Do you want that?
Not really.
Actually.
Now that you say it, maybe. Oh my gosh,
Oh, that's
so funny. Oddly enough, that happened today.
That is funny. But so really, like what that does look really good, and sometimes that wins.
Yes. And sometimes
But when
it does. And that has to
sometimes
be
it
okay.
does, right? But when you can still meet your goal,
Yes.
and on occasion have something, a treat that you
Absolutely.
wouldn't normally have when you're on a diet,
Yep.
right? And I use that word in air quotes. That's where I think this sweet spot is for me anyway. It is not an all or nothing. It's not that foods are off the table.
Right.
It is being able to see how that will affect the next 2 or 3 days for me. Is it worth it?
Yep.
Right.
And if the answer is yep,
Yes. Then it
do it.
is.
Then
right.
cool, do it.
Sometimes it is.
So
and then
right.
don't think about it again.
Right.
So it's still a choice for you,
Absolutely.
right? Like this isn't good and it's not bad. It's just that I know
It's what I'm-
what's going to happen
Exactly.
if I choose, and I have every right to choose
Yep.
to do that.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
So
Well,
when I wake up tomorrow, I won't be frustrated because I ate
Right.
really good yesterday. The last 3 days I've been on point with my numbers and the scale is not doing what I want it to do. That is very frustrating to me.
Yes.
But if I know, so I'm going to have a nutty bar and that might not look great on the scale in the next 2 or 3 days, but I know that. So when it doesn't look good, I'm like, well, I expected
what
it not to
happens.
look good,
Right.
right?
Absolutely.
Then it becomes a formula as opposed
sure.
to like this secret, like unknown concept that I just can't wrap my head around.
That.
Right?
Well, and
it's
this-
like science.
I ate
then.
so good. Why
Yes.
isn't the scale moving?
Yes.
Yep.
Well, there
And the
might be other
self-sabotage
things.
that comes with that.
That.
The self-sabotage, I think we all fight that in some capacity, even 7 years into this thing, right? You're always going to find a way. I shouldn't say always. A lot of the time, you are going to find a way to beat yourself up because you did X, Y, Z, right? That's, I think as humans, that's just
Yes.
wired into us.
Yes.
But the self-sabotage starts to happen less when the understanding of the scale is happening.
For sure.
So even though the day-to-day scale is not giving you what you want, in air quotes,
right.
seeing the trends allows that to change.
Yep.
And then the self-sabotage is maybe once every 3 weeks instead of once every 5 minutes.
Right.
That's
That.
dramatic. But
Right.
some
Right.
of us feel,
Once a day, I can have
Constantly.
a snack. I
Right.
can have a treat.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
And still consider myself to be eating healthy.
Yes.
So I think we talked about this once before. I don't know if you were with us or if it was just me and Lisa. But defining things like on occasion. That means something different to me
Oh,
than it does
perception.
to you, right?
Right.
Like, you say every 3 weeks. I think once every 3 days. That's on occasion to me,
Right.
Sure.
right?
Right.
So that being able to see what on occasion means to me. So when I have a nutty bar every 3 days, the scale was just starting to do what I wanted it to do, and then I had another occasion, right? So
Right.
now I can redefine that
absolutely.
and have it mean something different, but still help me get to my goal without feeling like I'm
Depriving
missing out
yourself.
and depriving
Yes,
myself.
so
Sure.
much.
Right, right.
Well, and the occasions start to dwindle,
Right.
right? Because we start to self-sabotage.
Right.
Or we go the other end of the spectrum and we reward ourselves for good decisions. That's what a lot of people will say, well, I have a cheat day.
Right, right. a whole day.
Do you have a cheat day?
That feels like a lot when you just said that, but it wouldn't have sounded like a lot to me.
A whole day.
Right.
And that works for some people, right? They get their triggers out and then they're right back on and they deal with a day or two of the scale and then they still see that slow movement.
Yeah.
But for somebody like me, currently where I am in my season of life, I'm holding on to a lot of things right now. I can't get away with that.
Right.
However, I was making a lot of excuses for the last 3 months. All of these things have changed and I don't know what I have no routine. Summer, going into the school year, all of the things that you can, well, now my occasion of 3 weeks turned into 2 weeks. And then it was once a week. No big deal.
Right.
And then it was, I'm very ashamed to even say this out loud, but hey,
Well,
let's keep
first
it
off,
real.
you're human.
Here we are, right? I was eating maybe 1,200 calories a day
Oh,
for weeks.
Yeah.
And
that's
going,
not enough.
What? Absolutely, it's not enough. I should
not
be
even
near
close.
2,000.
Yeah.
And although my routine changed and my activity changed, I was still pretty active. I wouldn't say to the point of where I was 3-4 months ago,
Yeah.
but enough that my body's metabolism just went, "Merp."
What are you doing?
Put the brakes on,
Right.
right?
Right.
Must be a famine.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely. And although the number on this scale hasn't really changed a ton, 2-3 pounds, which no biggie, my body composition has changed a lot.
Interesting.
So the scale went up 2 pounds, but the pant size went up too, right?
Oh, that's interesting.
Or
Yeah,
just
it
feeling
is.
the ugh.
Yes.
I don't
get
love
that.
this,
Yes.
right?
You feel sluggish.
Eat,
Yes.
right?
Right.
And that's just it.
Right.
Yep.
More caffeine was happening. And I'm like, goodness sakes, like why am I reaching for my 4th or 5th cup of either coffee or whatever the drink is, right? Doesn't do anything for you.
Right.
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 And then I was up to 300 milligrams of caffeine. Nothing. I didn't feel any different. So now we're on our way back, right? We're tracking every day.
Balance.
And
All
I
back
already
in
feel so
balance.
much better,
Yeah,
right?
that's
And
awesome.
that's the thing about that self-sabotage, right?
Yep.
Excuses turn into weeks and then days and then it's once a day.
Yeah.
And then it's, oh my gosh,
This is how I'm living right now.
this is how
Right.
I'm living. I'm in
Right.
survival mode again.
Yes.
But sometimes you have
Oh,
to
man.
feel that
That.
to get back.
So it isn't. So sometimes it doesn't even feel like self-sabotage. It feels like survival mode. Like
Yes.
that word that you said right there is like, yep, that. Right. I'm not eating enough. Oftentimes.
Yes.
It's fast. Right. Whatever it is.
And whatever it is, it's
Standing
terrible.
over a sink or in a car
keeping
or
me going.
yeah.
Right. The caffeine increases. All of those things. It's like self-sabotage, that word, I'm like, yeah, okay, I do that. Everybody does that. But survival mode, like I feel that.
That's where it gets tricky for me. So, especially if I'm traveling.
Oh, absolutely.
Yes.
Routines change everything.
Routine changed, but it's also a little bit of catch can, right? So maybe I can't find anything,
Sure.
like a good breakfast sandwich.
Right.
I don't even know what that looks like if I didn't make it myself.
Right.
I don't want to go to Quick Trip. That's probably not my best
Right,
choice.
right.
So then I end up at a coffee shop because I would still like a cup of coffee. Well, they don't have any protein, so muffin it is.
Yep.
Well, you know what I mean? So that's not even self-sabotage.
No,
That's
it's
the
not.
survival.
Right.
Absolutely.
And
Right.
then after a day or two of that, I'm tanked.
Yep.
Right.
And do you
not
feel
Physically, like emotionally tanked. You're
Oh,
not even
gosh,
just
yeah.
talking about like your scale issues.
No,
right?
no, I
Like,
am talking
my
about physically.
energy.
Now I need to be on the couch for the day, trying to rest and recover because I didn't have the food that I needed to eat. I didn't have the water available to me
Yep.
because I wasn't at home where I could just easily fill up my water bottle, right? Or I'm having water that is in a plastic jug, or and no electrolytes, and everything is just off. Everything is off.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you find that if you get into that survival mode, whether it's vacation or maybe it's whatever the event that causes
Can
it,
be positive or negative.
Yeah,
or
absolutely.
neutral for that
Yeah,
matter.
or
right.
neutral, or it just is like you wake
Right.
up one day and you're like, all right, well, I'm not doing this
Today's
today.
not
Right.
the day,
Today's not the day.
right?
Do you
Or
ever
maybe
find
you have guests staying with you, and it's just
Right.
not feasible to
Yep.
break out your food scale every,
Absolutely.
couple of hours.
Yep.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you ever find that if you do that for a day or two or three, say you're traveling in a car for a day, and then you get to where you're going, and then your routine is still off, and maybe on the third or fourth day you start to find some items for breakfast, or you are able to go to the store and get your staples, that in that time frame you crave the good food.
Yes.
You don't even want the crap food. And you're like, who am I?
Isn't
that crazy?
This is insane that we're talking about this. I love the universe. So
Me too.
very, very quickly, and I know we have kind of gone off track.
Yeah,
and
we
I want to
need-
get back
yeah,
on
we
track.
have to get back to what the program is.
But
we
I
get
gotta tell
excited
this.
about this.
I got to tell this.
Yeah.
So Liz, very quickly, Liz is not living at home. She hasn't lived at home in a couple of months, and she's testing out her adulthood. Right, like she's 18 and she's figuring it out, like Liz does. And this weekend was the first weekend she was home for any amount of time. We visited, we talk every day.
Sure.
Everything's doing great, but she just had not been home. She requested dinner last night. Salmon, asparagus, and rice. She's like, this is what I'm craving. I need this. And then she was home today and wanted beef stroganoff. And of course, I'm her mama. Like,
Of course you're gonna do that.
I make it.
Right.
Man, she ate and ate and ate. She was like, I cannot tell you how good this tastes. She said, I used to think, and it, filled up my mama heart, because I've always, although I couldn't manage my weight and figure it out for myself, I did always have healthy food and
Sure.
like homemade
Yes.
stuff. And she said, I always thought that it wasn't a big deal. Like, I just wanted something fast and it tasted good. And she said, and now that I don't have that, she's like, I'm craving it. Like,
Oh my gosh.
I need that.
And she can
I'm
see how
smiling from
important
ear
it
to
is,
ear
right?
hearing
Yes.
that. That makes me so happy.
That is a young woman who's she's figuring it out.
Yes.
She is.
Like,
And at such a
figuring it out.
young age.
Yeah.
My goodness. I didn't.
Good
I
for
mean,
her.
Yeah.
absolutely good for her.
She also, it's insane, but she also is recognizing that she does have issues with gluten and dairy.
Sure.
Oh. So
We
when
knew
you
that
had
a very long
right.
time ago,
when you had
and
tried to get her
changed
to
everything.
take that out of her
Yes,
diet,
yes,
that was a battle.
yes, and has been for years.
Right.
And now that it's her choice,
Because she can
Entirely.
see what the consequence is,
Yes.
rather than the consequence being mom will be mad at me.
yes,
It is.
yes, I'm going.
Oh, now I see how it affects me.
that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
That.
Good for her.
Yeah.
That's
Anyway,
amazing.
I didn't want to sidetrack
Go
us
for it.
further, but that
That's
was
amazing.
like that's
It is a big
exactly what
deal,
you
what
said.
you're
Like,
talking
she's
about.
craving
Yeah.
real food
And
because
her-
she's not giving it to her body.
And when her
Right.
body got it, it was like, give me more.
Yes.
Right.
Right. That.
Even if it took her out of
That.
if she was to do this program and it took her out of her numbers, her body didn't care, because like you had mentioned, it's famine. It's famine up in here. I
Right.
need this.
Yeah.
The nutrients of the food. And honestly, she probably felt like she didn't feel full.
Yeah.
And
That is really, really interesting.
it's amazing when that happens. There are days that I too, when I'm eating really well, I just am like, gosh, I'm just so hungry.
So hungry.
Yeah.
That.
I'm so hungry.
Yes.
And I don't want pizza and
Right.
nachos and
Right.
no.
bagel bites, whatever the thing is, right? I want
I want some real food.
steak
That.
and
Right.
Yeah.
right? Or chicken. And right now, like, I think not right now, for a long time and forever, I think I could eat a salad as big as my head. Just huge salads, but with meat on top.
Yeah.
That's the kind of stuff that my body is like, yep, I need this right now.
Yeah.
All of it. Every meal of every day,
Yep.
plus all of the things that are on the side.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
That's really cool.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome.
All right, let's get back on track.
to the
So
We're
what
gonna
is the actual
refocus.
program? We keep talking about this
We
program.
keep talking
Yeah,
about
what-
it, but
yeah.
haven't described what
Macros.
is
Everybody's
it.
like, what are we talking about? Are you
25
ever
minutes
going to
later.
tell us?
Yeah.
Yes. So my program is different for every single client. Cop out answer, yes, but hear me out. Of all of the clients that I work with, gosh, I don't even know where I'm at. I think I'm around 50. somewhere in there.
Yeah.
Maybe a little lighter until I just had a new cycle start. Shout out to my brilliant bats.
Hooray.
I hope your day 3 is going amazing. Is it day 3? It is day 3. But of all of the clients, everybody's plan is different. And everybody's plan is different based on you as a person. So although, Tammy, you and Lisa are the same, relatively the same age, the same demographic, all of the things are similar. Your plans are very different.
We have like DNA that's the same.
All of it.
We're related.
About
Yes.
as same as you can get without being twins.
Right.
Yep.
Right.
But it is different plans for you guys. And I don't think you've ever been on the same plan. And that's how it is for every client.
So what is that based on though?
Yes. So the way we get there is you give me some information before we even get started. Usually we talk about our why, which we've already gone through. And then after that, we talk about your goals. What are we looking for? Are we looking to lose weight? Are we looking to lean out? Are we looking to bulk? I've had people who can't gain weight to save their lives.
Yeah.
What do we want from this program? What is the expectations? Once that is set, then I get your age, your weight, your height, your sex, and how active you are. Activity makes a big difference. You don't have to do a thing. You don't have to do exercise. I will always encourage exercise, but some people physically cannot. I have a client who physically, they cannot. They just have a lot of things going on in their body that it doesn't allow it to happen.
Yeah.
This person is still seeing great results. 15 pounds down, right? Food is incredible. So once I get that information from you, then we get started. So I've got some clients who are in a cycle, which you ladies are, in 2 different cycles.
Yeah.
But I also have some that pop in as an independent. So as we were giving a shout out to Lori, hey Lori, we are getting her started as an independent here pretty soon again, which is amazing. So that means she just is doing the thing on her own without a group, and she's not the only one. I think I've got 10 or so that prefer that. But in that, after the information is given, then I set a macro plan for you. So macros are your calories, and what is broken down from that are your macronutrients, which is your proteins, carbs, and fats.
Yep.
Those are broken down into different percentages. I believe your percentages are much different than Tammy's percentages, right? So those percentages will move around the board during different seasons, during different moments of your life. If we find that there's a plateau for more than a month, 6 weeks or so, which seems like a lifetime when you're in it,
Sure
right?
It's half a cycle. That
It
is a
is.
lot.
It's half a cycle,
Yeah.
which is frustrating.
Yeah.
But if we move those percentages around too quickly, too often, the body never gets a moment to just settle.
Yeah.
And sometimes settling is in a plateau, which is a very common thing, unfortunately, when we don't hit the mark. And yes, I don't hit the mark every time. I don't. I'm spot on
Hit
for
the mark with the numbers that you're suggesting.
correct.
Okay.
Yep.
Got it.
And sometimes that comes because there's information that is either being withheld,
Yeah.
meaning I've had clients who have had a lot of shame, a lot of guilt, a lot of trauma, a lot of baggage, a lot of things, and I haven't earned that trust.
Yeah.
Plain and simple. This is not a game. This is not a thing that just happens for me as a coach. I have to earn it. It's a two-way street. Just because I am your coach does not give me the right to know the things that may be happening or have happened.
Yeah.
So if there's information withheld, my plan obviously
Might not
doesn't
fit.
match.
Yeah.
The pieces don't fit. And sometimes I miss the mark because I just plain and simple missed the mark. And I thought your body would respond to this, and it just didn't.
Right.
Which is why I like the 4 to 6 week range in percentages. It gives me a really good opportunity to look at those trends that we were talking about before and really sit down and go, okay, week 2 looks like this, but week 6 looks exactly the same. Something's happening. I need to switch something. So those percentages usually will start at a 40, 30, 30. What does that mean? 40% carb, 30% protein, 30% fat. Women, more estrogens, don't always respond to higher carb. So we bring those percentages down and we bring the fat up. And the reason we do that is based on energy. Fat and carbs are usually your energy source. Proteins are great for recovery and muscle building and amino acids and all those things. But fat and carbs are almost always our energy source. And men just get away with more carbohydrates, like Scott and his tortilla chips, right? And it's so freaking frustrating.
So frustrating.
It's unfair. It is. But you know what? It's our genetic makeup.
Yeah. There's no getting around it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yet again, we take one for the team.
Another reason why it's riding side saddle.
Damn it.
Right?
Yeah.
This ability to give birth thing. It's a
Right.
like,
It's a problem.
But it comes with a lot of shit.
It's a problem.
Jesus, criminy.
Right.
Yes. Very much yes. But those percentages may move. And then usually, not always, every week your plan changes, meaning your macro plan, not your percentages.
Yeah.
So if your goal is to lose weight, we put you in a cut cycle. So your calories will come down. However, a lot of people think, oh my gosh, she's going to cut all these things.
Yeah. Not true.
It really isn't a whole
Not
ton.
even true.
And it's so slow.
You don't
Like
even
those
really
cut
notice.
weeks, you don't really notice.
Right.
And that's the beauty of why when we get on a maintenance cycle, we don't gain 20 pounds.
Right.
Because it's slow and sustainable.
Right.
Right.
And you know, if I'm remembering correctly, and I haven't looked at my mountain range during that period of time, but we were preparing my body for surgery.
Correct.
Right.
100%.
So it was like a month or 6 weeks
The same.
of like maintenance.
I think you stayed within the same pound.
I did. And it was like the lowest.
Absolutely.
It was in the lowest range during that time. So maintenance does not at all mean that, you know, you increase your calories, you're going to increase your weight.
Right.
It doesn't. It just doesn't mean that.
Nope. Especially if you were doing the work along the way. I have had an instance where somebody completely fudged their numbers for an entire cycle.
Ooh.
And I was like,
Well, that's self-sabotage.
self-sabotage.
Right.
But a lot
But
of
there's so much shame
things-
attached
Yes.
to
There
it.
is.
And
Like
that's-
telling on yourself,
Yes,
right? Like,
100%.
I cannot put down that I ate a whole bag of popcorn.
Right.
So
or a whole pie.
or
a
yes,
whole whatever.
exactly. Right.
Right.
Look at that. Look
'Cause
at
you're
the fat number
embarrassed.
today. I
Right.
can't. That can't be right. I need to fix that.
Right.
Or what is Jess going to say?
Right.
How am I going to cut if I can't even, not even understanding that probably wouldn't have been my motive, right? Or my plan for you, but you start to spiral.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I 100% understand and respect why that happens. However, coach hat goes on. I've got now almost, what month are we in? Oh my gosh, we're in November. The best month of the year, by the
I'd
way.
say.
Birthday girls.
Birthday. Birthday girls. Woohoo! And Thanksgiving, let's be real. I love Thanksgiving food. Oh my gosh, it's my favorite. Pie is my favorite. Side note, here we go. Almost 4 years of looking at different clients and their numbers, you start to recognize some things, right? So finally with this instance, I just came out and said it.
Yeah.
I don't believe that these numbers are accurate based on what is happening
Yeah.
on the scale.
Yeah.
Is there anything that I need to know? Here's what I think is happening, and I listed the things. Alcohol was a big one.
Yeah.
Alcohol will do very specific things to numbers.
Yeah.
Very,
Alcohol.
very, very specific in almost every client. I've had a handful of clients that alcohol doesn't affect at all.
Wow.
But not very many. Of the hundreds I've worked with, a handful. So that's a blip of people,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And you guys are lucky that they don't affect you. But it does very specific things. So I listed the 3 or 4 or 5 things that I thought were going on. Crickets
Oh.
for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Uh-oh.
But that needed to happen.
Yeah.
Right.
Because then there was a beautiful moment of, can I call you?
Right. Oh.
1000% you can, right? And you have to, as a coach, that's me earning trust,
Right.
right?
Right.
maybe this person
took
won't
a while
call.
for them to be honest with themselves.
Right.
And
and
probably
get over
getting
their
angry at
shame.
me.
Right.
Maybe so. You called me out. And I'm really ashamed.
Right.
Yep.
And I have to process that.
That,
Absolutely.
Yes. Right.
And that's a big part of the accountability factor
oh my gosh, is it?
and the coaching.
Yep.
I won't give up on a single person. But if they're going to give up on themselves, there's only so much that I can do.
For
That.
sure.
And understanding that I will always come from a place of love doesn't always mean that I'm always going to come from a place of words that aren't hard to
Yeah.
hear.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
And fast forward a few weeks, we completely started over. We had a redo. We completely had a redo. And
I love that
they
so
did it.
much.
Yep.
And now that story will forever be something that this person will always
I love that.
remember and thank me for.
Yeah.
And then thank themselves
Right.
for
For sure.
Because that's the bigger part.
Absolutely.
Right? That was the bigger hurdle.
100%.
The biggest part of
The
that
accountability
issue.
to themselves.
Right. Right.
Yes. So,
And the so one of the things, I'm sorry to interrupt. One of the things that Tammy and I have talked about from literally the first episode of Riding Side Saddle is how very connected physical health is with mental health, with is emotional health. And that example in that story about shame and, maybe there's trauma around
yes.
it.
Yep.
From when they were young or
20 years
whenever.
ago.
Or not.
15
Or
years
maybe
ago.
from, a relationship where someone said, you really need a potato?
Yeah.
Do you
Right.
really?
Right.
It could be
I've-
something like
right,
that.
right.
I've
of
heard
course.
stories of relationships of people labeling food in the house, letting that person know if they were allowed to eat it. Terrible, terrible, terrible things that we don't know everybody's story.
Right.
And even when you know somebody pretty well, man, we can take things to the grave.
Yeah.
Right? When they make us
Absolutely.
feel yucky and
for
the
sure.
ick and
Yep,
for
nope,
sure.
I'm going to run from that. Right. And
right.
and that may be something that is a big factor in why mental health and the scale are connected because we hold on to that stuff. And our bodies physically hang on.
Literally.
They
Yes.
literally and physically hold on to our mental health.
Yes.
And once you figure that out, you're like, holy shit.
Yep.
How is this even a thing? How do my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions and my stuff, I'm going to put that in air quotes, have anything to do with the number on the scale?
Yep.
Everything.
It really does.
It absolutely does.
I had it was after I started working with you. It was probably like early summer. So it wasn't, we just started together at the end of May.
Yes.
So like I wasn't in it that long, right? And I had a day where I was so mad. And I couldn't come down from being mad. Like I was mad for hours and hours, like really on 10 mad.
About something random?
Something else.
Or, okay.
Yep, just something
okay.
happening in my life, and
Yeah.
I was really mad about it. And I went to bed mad, and I woke up mad. The scale totally spiked. My diet was right. My water intake was good. But I had worked myself into a right and proper lather. And the scale went, uh-oh, we've got a problem here.
Yep. Ding, 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 ding.
Yes, right. It's an inflammation response,
yeah.
much
Absolutely.
like when you cut yourself,
Right.
And your body rushes to heal that,
Yep.
and it gets red and a little hot, and even without an infection,
Yep.
that's healing. That is what happens when you have those thoughts and those feelings. Your body rushes to fix it
And it's
Absolutely.
in every
or
one
contain
of your
it.
cells.
Yes.
Everyone.
Yes, right.
Yes.
And that's really hard for most people to understand. Because of,
It's because it feels very disconnected.
yes,
Right?
very.
Right.
Like, okay, so I ran 5 miles today, but I'm more pissed off than I've ever been pissed off or hurt by somebody.
Right.
Those two things should not correspond, right? Like, I'm still doing all my things. What's the problem?
Yep.
But they are so
They are
connected.
so connected.
They are so connected. And when we can start to really tune into our mental health and not just our thoughts of the day, right? we can have those thoughts of, oh, Jessica, you probably shouldn't have eaten that ice cream. Or, gosh, why am I so irritated today? You know, those thoughts are very different than not getting out of bed and feeling very anxious and sad. And perception of anxious and sad and depressed and angry are different to everybody.
Yep.
Your anger is different than my anger, right?
For sure.
My anxiety is different than your anxiety.
Yep.
And not just the thing that you're anxious about, the actual physical feeling
Right.
of that.
Right. Your response to.
Absolutely. Right. And your mental health affects so many people around you. And that is a really hard pill to swallow for some of us who may recognize it in ourselves that, hey, you know, I do struggle with depression, and you know, I'm taking the medications and I'm doing all of the things, or whatever your protocol is, you're doing the things. But the people around you are still affected by you trying to work out of that.
Yeah.
Or the
100%.
decisions that are made because of those things.
Right.
And mental health will always be something that I will bring up a lot. So not only in my personal life my family has suffered tremendously, but in my physical cell biological being, so fun fact, I am adopted, and my biological mother struggles with schizophrenia, and there's manic depressives, and we have multi-personality disorder, and we have anxiety, and we have a lot of the things in my bloodline. So not only is it important to be there to be educated, but also, you know, I've got 4 children. Knowing, hey, if this is something, I need to know what those red flags are.
Right. For yourself,
for
and
myself,
for your
and
children.
for my children.
Right.
Right. But also just the mental side of what happens when you aren't okay.
Right.
Yes, you hear the cliche, and I'm not knocking it at all, but the cliche, it's okay to not be okay. It is okay to not be okay, but there has to be this point.
You can't get stuck there.
You can't stay there.
No.
And it's not, and it is, I have to figure out how to say this. And when you're not okay, you have no idea you're not okay sometimes.
Absolutely.
And a long time.
Yes.
Right.
The recognition of
Right.
that. And I think that's where the true mental health comes in, is if you can recognize, ooh, I don't like this dark place I'm in. I've got to start turning on some lights.
Right.
That's very different than somebody coming to you and telling you something and you go, there's nothing wrong with me.
Right.
Right? Or I don't see that. I don't feel that. A lot of mental health will numb people. They don't feel anything. They feel nothing.
Disassociated. Yeah.
And that's a coping mechanism. That's a physical reaction in the brain, right? So it's not that you need to, go out and do your research on all of the scientific pieces of this. That's not where I want to take this, but mental health, I think, if anything, that I want everyone to understand, and I think you guys would agree, it affects so much.
It does. And what is interesting to me is how much food and nutrition affects your mental health.
Correlate, yes.
It's kind of like,
It's
where
cyclical.
Yes.
the cart and the horse, which one comes first, or the chicken and the egg, or whatever the saying is. If you're not eating well, you cannot expect yourself to feel well.
Right.
I was at a coffee shop and I saw they had a sign up. They had a whole bunch of signs. It was just part of their decor. And one of them, I'm not going to get it quite right, but it was something along the lines of, you wouldn't put sugar in your car's gas tank and expect it to run.
Yes.
So don't put sugar in your gas tank and expect it to run.
Right.
Right? Your
Right.
physical gas tank.
Right.
And they didn't use the word sugar. That is the word I used. But like, if you are not using the right fuel for your car, it won't run right. And you wouldn't
Absolutely.
expect it to.
Right.
If you're not putting the right fuel in your body, you can't expect it to run right
That.
either. Not just physically, but mentally.
Right.
Absolutely. I think the mental part goes before the physical part.
For sure.
For me. Maybe that's not everybody's story, but I know when I've had way too much sugar. I'm exhausted.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm a little crabby.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm a little like, I could stay in bed.
Yeah.
Little things make me upset or sad,
Yes.
weepy. You feel all of those feelings. And although that's minuscule to true mental health issues, you can feel it, especially like when we were talking about craving nutrition, nutritious foods.
Right.
When you're in that path of, okay, I've been doing this 85% or more, and then I have that day of 80 grams of sugar in the morning for breakfast.
Right.
Your whole day is like, what is happening to me?
Yeah.
And that's exactly the correlation.
It's interesting.
And sugar, I think it's funny that you say that. Not funny, ironic that you say that. I do believe that is, if I had to pick one thing, sugar and caffeine are kind of hand in hand for me. Caffeine will always trigger more anxiety, always, 1000%. Sugar, always. Inflammation, sadness and anger, irritability, always. With many people.
I would really like to pay more attention to that for myself.
Yes.
Because I think that internal response might feel different. I just have to pay more attention.
Out of sight,
It's
out of
there.
mind sometimes,
Yeah,
right?
it's
Where you're
there.
like, okay, well, I'm doing all of these other things.
Right.
And I will tell you, I am not taking out my cup of coffee. Not going to happen.
Yep.
Never in 5 million years will I take my cup of coffee out. But I don't need 6.
Right. Right.
I don't need that
Right.
and a bubbler. I don't need that and a bubbler, and I don't drink this, but a Celsius,
Monster.
Yeah.
a Monster,
something, yeah.
or whatever.
Right.
You don't need it.
Right.
Right? So then we wonder why we're running around like chickens with our heads cut off, and then going, I got nothing done, and
Yeah.
I'm snapping at my kids, and I'm snapping
And
at my
I feel
husband,
like shit, and I have a headache.
Yes.
And my stomach hurts.
Yes.
And
Right.
I'm not hungry.
right.
Appetite goes away
Right.
completely
Yeah.
in
it
those
does.
feelings.
I have watched that directly with Liz.
Oh, for sure. I believe that. And that's a hard thing to, again, correlation. For her, she probably didn't even make the correlation.
No.
She's starting to.
No?
It's
Yep.
it's a really good thing to watch. It's getting there.
Oh,
Yeah.
that makes me happy for her and
Me
you.
too. Me too.
It's amazing.
Well,
Right.
I think we're out of time.
We are. We're
Sadly.
like, so listen, we're going to do this for like 35 minutes, and now it's
Yeah.
like 50 minutes. This shit
I think
happens
last
every
time it was
time.
an hour
I know.
and 7.
I know.
We had
do this every
2
time.
episodes planned, and we only got to
I
1.
just love you so much.
Yeah.
We might get another episode in.
Well,
Let's
I don't
say
know.
goodbye, and then
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Absolutely.
I'm not all that hopeful.
I'm always the optimist. You
I know,
that.
and I'm looking at the time. I don't think we have time for another one, but we will reschedule for another one then.
Absolutely.
Okay.
We
Fine.
absolutely
All
can.
right. Very
Fine.
You win. Fine.
good. We have places to be and things to do. We don't want to make people
enough.
miss things. So,
Fair enough.
I appreciate that.
yeah.
All right.
All right. So we'll wind this up and say thank you to Mind Garden Media. Todd,
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you for your hard work always.
Yep.
Yep. And to our listeners.
And to our listeners,
Thank you for your hard work too.
always listening.
Yeah.
Popping up in other areas that it just floors me every single time.
Yeah.
Bangladesh was one.
Yeah.
This last week.
Mexico.
Yep.
Bangladesh was on before,
Jamaica
but yeah,
was one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
for
It's
sure.
amazing.
Yeah. In Sweden, like
I don't know what's going on in
I
Sweden,
don't know, but we love it.
Yeah,
so,
we'll take
yeah,
it.
Thanks.
Amazing.
Right, for sure.
And like you said the last time, thank you to our core listeners who
Yep.
listen every time.
For
Yeah.
sure.
We absolutely appreciate you. You're the heartbeat of this.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
So, if
Can
you,
I just do a quick?
yes,
Yes.
you for sure.
Hey, as we're talking about listeners, I would also like to genuinely thank the listeners of the first episode when I was on.
Oh, for
Yes.
Oh my
sure.
gosh, the feedback and the messages and the emails and just the love that was poured. I did share some of those messages with both of you
I loved it.
along the way. Thank you guys. It was a pretty cool thing.
It was super cool.
It was
actually.
really, really cool. So I know
Yeah.
I say it very often, but I wouldn't be doing this thing without my clients and my members
Absolutely.
and the associates that come with those people, right? So thank you. Thank you to you that listened and genuinely enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
Yes, we thank
and
you
if
as
you
well.
did enjoy it, please smash all the buttons and do all the things and share and like the stuff. Like it, that just having likes is so valuable to
It
us.
is. Yep.
We
We
can see that
appreciate you.
engagement. Right,
Absolutely.
exactly. And that keeps us fueled.
It sure
Absolutely.
does.
Yeah.
All right.
All right. So till next time then.
Bye.
Bye.
Toodaloo.